Et pour débuter cette journée, je vous propose une courte vidéo de l'un de nos clients, Air France KLM. Avec plus de 90 millions de passagers transportés chaque année, Air France KLM veut devenir la compagnie aérienne numéro 1 en service client. L'entreprise utilise Talend pour créer une vision à 360 du client, intégrant des données de recherche de trajet, de réservation, d'exploitation aérienne, grâce aux interactions sur le web, les réseaux sociaux, les call centers et les lounges d'aéroports. Il y a visiblement du changement pour la satisfaction des clients avec des expériences clients toujours plus personnalisées.
Aujourd'hui, on se rend compte que nos clients, ils ne s'attendent pas seulement à voyager, mais à voyager comme ils aiment. Quand on interroge nos clients, le produit n'arrive qu'en 10e position, loin derrière les notions de service. Donc cette hyper-personnalisation, c'est fondamental si on veut se différencier par rapport à nos concurrents. Air France KLM, c'est 90 millions de passagers transportés annuellement et c'est 27 millions de membres de notre programme de fidélité Flying Blue. La donne fondamentale qui change depuis les dernières années, c'est l'explosion des données. Ça vient notamment des médias sociaux. Air France KLM, c'est 16 millions de fans sur Facebook et 3 millions de followers sur Twitter.
Le grand challenge d'Air France KLM, c'était de recentraliser l'ensemble de l'information client pour pouvoir partager ces données avec tous les agents du groupe Air France KLM.
On a mis en place une plateforme Big Data développée sur Hadoop en interne pour créer cette fameuse vision 360. On a mis en place une organisation dédiée qui a pour mission de structurer cette plateforme de données, mais aussi de répondre à l'ensemble des défis autour du management de la donnée.
Nous envoyons jusqu'à 1 milliard d'emails par an à nos clients. Nous avons mis en place toute une politique de data quality pour vérifier la qualité de nos données avec Talend Data Quality. Nous corrigeons jusqu'à 1 million de données par mois avec cet outil. On a aussi la question de la sécurité de ces données, puisque nous traitons des données personnelles clients et ces données doivent être protégées. Le data masking consiste à anonymiser une partie des données clients pour des besoins d'analytique. En parallèle, nous avons également mis en place de nouveaux outils pour partager l'information avec Talend Metadata Management qui nous permet maintenant de trouver 10 fois plus rapidement où se trouve la donnée, d'où elle vient, où elle va.
Donc, notre objectif en unifiant l'ensemble des données de nos clients, ça va être de les rassurer tout au long de leur voyage avec nous. On va partir de la maison où, en les géolocalisant, on va leur donner le temps qu'il va leur falloir pour atteindre l'aéroport. Quand un client arrive à l'aéroport, il peut arriver que son vol change de porte d'embarquement. Sur nos médias sociaux, vous allez recevoir automatiquement un message sur Facebook Messenger vous indiquant votre nouvelle porte d'embarquement. En géolocalisant le bagage, on va systématiquement leur donner les informations qui vont leur permettre de savoir où se situe leur bagage. Une fois que vous avez voyagé avec nous, on va étudier votre historique, vos préférences et vous pousser une promotion sur la prochaine destination qui va vous intéresser. Ce qu'on souhaite faire, c'est être systématiquement en communication avec notre client. Ça va être en face à face avec nos équipes qui sont équipées de tablettes. Ça va être directement avec nos clients s'ils ont l'application sur un smartphone. Mais ça va être aussi, sinon pas leur application, à travers par exemple les médias sociaux. L'objectif, c'est d'avoir plusieurs dizaines de millions d'expériences uniques avec cette plateforme de données.
Thank you, Francois, and thank you, Air France, for sharing your data-driven story with us. And thank all of you for being here today and being part of the Talend community as customers, partners, or potential customers. Because everything that we do because of you, and all of you made 2016 a truly transformative year for Talend. As many of you know, we had a really special moment in July of this year. At the end of July, on July 29th in New York City, we went public on the NASDAQ Stock Exchange. Thank you. That was a really special moment for Talend. It was something that the entire team had been dreaming about and working towards for 10 years. But it really is just the beginning for us. It was a great recognition of the strength and power of the Talend business. It was a great public acknowledgement of market validation of what we're doing. But in addition, it allowed us to build our balance sheet. We now have $90 million of cash on the bank, And that allows us to invest even more in the most important parts of talent. We're going to keep investing in solving your data-driven problems. We're going to keep expanding around the world so we can help you and your teams in more places on a 24/7 basis. And we're going to keep investing to make sure that we're the best in the world in the areas that are changing, in big data, in cloud, in self-service, and in real time. Talend was founded 10 years ago, right here in Paris, by two young French entrepreneurs. And now, in 2016, we'll be a $100 million company. We're growing at 40% per year. We have 650 employees around the world. And we've had over 2 million downloads and trials of our open source products in our history. Importantly, we believe we're number one in the market in things like big data and in cloud and scenarios like AWS. And those businesses for us are growing at 100% a year. And they're powering our growth and actually accelerating our growth going forward. In August, we reached another great milestone. Gartner recognized Talend for the first time as a leader in their Magic Quadrant for data integration. That was great for a number of reasons. Of course, being in the Leaders Quadrant is a terrific opportunity for us, but also, we're the first and only open source company in the Leaders Quadrant. We're the only company they've added to the Leaders Quadrant in 5 years. And when you look at the other leaders in the Leaders Quadrant, we're the only company that's less than $1 billion worth of revenue. And Gartner recognized Talend for three things. The first one for our leadership in cloud and big data. The second for our unified solution, where we have a single design environment and a single management console across batch data integration, real-time integration, data quality, and master data management. And thirdly, they recognize us for our disruptive pricing model, where we charge on a per-user basis, primarily per developer, rather than CPU cores in a proprietary runtime. And all of that allows us to disrupt the data integration market with a solution that's faster, cheaper, and more scalable than anything else in the market. And we're continuing to expand. Last year, we were in 8 countries around the world, primarily in Western Europe and in North America. And you can see those in the dark green on the map there. This year, now, we're in 20 countries, with a lot more expansion into the rest of Europe and expanding throughout Asia. That allows us to serve more of your customers and more of your teams globally distributed around the world on a 24/7 basis. And we'll keep expanding over the coming years. And all of that growth and all of that success really comes from the success that all of you have had using Talend to become data-driven. We're now in our second year of recognizing what we call the Talend Data Masters. These are companies that are using data to transform their business. And this year, we've got 19 companies that we're acknowledging of what they're doing to change the world using data. These companies include companies that are actually saving lives using data, companies that are exposing international tax fraud and money laundering, companies from finance, from customer service, from e-commerce, and from manufacturing. And all of these companies, congratulations to all of you, and we'll be talking about them a lot more as they're sharing their stories here at Talend Connect. And really, what they're doing in transforming their businesses using data, that's our mission at Talend, enabling the data-driven enterprise of the future. Because the world is increasingly data-driven. And it's data-driven because, of course, there's a lot more data in the world that companies can use for analysis, but equally importantly, or probably more importantly, it's becoming more and more data-driven because in every industry, there are intensely data-driven competitors that are changing the game and changing the basis of competition by becoming data-driven. They're basing their products on data, they're basing their decisions on data, And as a result, as you're competing with them, if you aren't equally data-driven, then they'll lose. Then you lose to them as they really change the game. And that really, for us, is the problem that we're helping all of you solve. And the way that the world is using data is changing. As a matter of fact, I would say that we're at a historic point where we're seeing more change right now in how the world is using data than at any other time in my career. We're seeing just an explosion in the amount of data that's out there. According to IDC, the amount of data being created every year is doubling every 2 years. And that's led to the rise of Hadoop and big data as companies are looking for ways to manage that enormous amount of data. We're also about 10 years into a 20 or 30 year move to the cloud. And that's similarly changing how companies are storing, managing, and integrating their data. Due to the increasing pace of change, companies are also moving to more and more of a self-service approach to allow their employees and data analysts to do more by themselves without relying on the IT team to do it for them. And finally, we're seeing more and more things being done in real time that used to be done in batch, once a day, once a week, and once a month. These are the trends that are changing the industry, and these are the trends that are driving our own roadmap at Talend, as you'll be hearing over the course of the day today. Let's talk a little bit about the overall problem that we're solving. The problem we're solving of data integration was already one of the biggest and hardest problems in IT 20 years ago, and it's only gotten more complex since then. 20 years ago, it was all about connecting systems together on-premise, connecting things like SQL Server to SAP, and analyzing the data in things like Teradata. But now, almost every company that we talk to has more and more systems in the cloud. They might be using Salesforce for CRM, Marketo for marketing. They might analyze that data in Teradata on-premise, or they might analyze their SAP data up in Amazon Redshift up in the cloud. And they're moving more and more systems up into things like Amazon Web Services. In that increasingly complex world, it's actually getting more complex because companies are going through digital transformation initiatives to connect together their customers and suppliers in real time. And now we're seeing increasing waves of data with the sensor data and the Internet of Things that are adding more and more data and more complexity. So this is the world that we live in. It's a world that's much more complex, it's much more data-driven, with more data than ever before, and our solution for that is the Talend Data Fabric. It's a single pane of glass solution that solves the problem for you, whether it's in the cloud or on-premise, whether it's in real time or in batch, and it's natively powered by big data so it can solve the highest scale problems in the world. And it's how we go about solving these problems that makes us unique. This picture here shows how the data integration world, or ETL world, was done 20 years ago. And what it describes is the little pictures, the little snowflakes on the top are data pulled from a number of different systems, run through a proprietary runtime in the middle, that black box, where it's blended together, cleaned up, and transformed, and then put into a data warehouse, which is the cylinder on the bottom. And that was an architecture that made a lot of sense 15 or 20 years ago when it was designed. Because back then, the data warehouse, which might have been an IBM mainframe or a Teradata system, was very, very expensive. Every byte of data, every CPU cycle was extremely expensive due to the business models of the companies involved. So as a result, having this proprietary runtime that ran in front of the data warehouse made a lot of sense. It solved the problem technically, and importantly, it was a good cost optimization because that proprietary runtime would typically cost about 1/10 as much as the data warehouse. So therefore, companies would put this proprietary layer in, do all of that work in front of the data warehouse, and minimize the footprint of what was being done in the data warehouse. But today, the world has changed in a couple of fundamental ways. The first thing is that there's now typically 10 times or 100 times as much data that now needs to be processed. And the second one, importantly, is the new data warehouse, which typically runs in Hadoop or Spark, is dramatically cheaper than the old data warehouse. So now, as a result, what used to make sense as an architecture and as a cost optimization simply doesn't work anymore. What companies want to do is take that data and put it directly into Hadoop and Spark and use the power of that big distributed cluster to solve the problem. That results in a solution that's both cheaper and more powerful than the old way. And that's what we do at Talend. We give you the best of both worlds. We give you a software-based solution with the productivity benefits, the security benefits, and the maintainability of the software. But we also allow you to natively take advantage, full advantage of that Hadoop and Spark runtime. And that gives you the power, the scalability, and the agility of being able to spin up and spin down on demand in the cloud. From a performance perspective, we've benchmarked our solution as being 7 times or more faster than the traditional solutions. So it's not just that it's cheaper, it's also dramatically faster and more scalable as well. And importantly, the other thing that's happening right now is Hadoop and Spark are continuing to improve their performance at an unprecedented rate. When we moved to Spark a year ago, our performance tripled, and we're continuing to invest in performance. And as Spark and Hadoop continue to increase their performance at an incredible pace, we increase our performance directly in lockstep because we're leveraging them natively to do all that processing for us. And that really is the benefit of using the Talend approach. So in the old world, the old legacy architecture made sense. But in the new world, as the world is changing with more data and with a dramatically new approach possible, the old approach doesn't work anymore. We need a new approach, we need a new business model, and that's what we bring you from Talend. And of course, it's not just about Talend. As an open source company, we have an entire community that we're working with. And we work with all of the big data players, we work with all of the major cloud players, and many of the largest SIs in the world, some of which are here today. And although Laurent will give the more detailed roadmap from Talend in just a few moments, I'd like to give just a quick overview. We have 4 major investment themes for 2017 and beyond. We're investing in big data, we're investing in cloud, we're investing in self-service, and we're investing in real-time. And you'll notice that those are the exact same trends that we talked about a few moments ago that are changing the industry. And that's not a coincidence. Because Talend, we're investing in the areas that you need to solve, where you need to be today and where you need to be tomorrow. And it's not 4 separate investments. These are really 4 investments that really line up together and reinforce each other. Because many of our customers that are investing in big data are also investing in the cloud and are doing it in the cloud. And almost all of them want to enable self-service along the way. And of course, more and more of the world is being done in real time. So this is a coherent set of 4 bets that all work together. And it's really helping you solve the problems that you need to be data-driven today and tomorrow. And finally, what I'd like to do is leave you with an example of a company that's saving lives by using data. So if we can roll the video of Unos.
There are 2 stories that actually occur around the time that somebody is passing away. There is a tragedy that's occurring of somebody passing away, but at the same time that person can then save as many as 8 lives. There are 120,000 people on the waiting list, 22 people that die waiting on a waiting list every single day. On the positive side, there are 85 people who get a new lease on life every single day. About 6,000 deceased donors donated their organ, and clearly that the supply and demand is not where it needs to be. So there's a tremendous sense of urgency that each doctor has 1 hour to decide whether they're going to accept an organ or not. So that's the first clock. The second clock is when the organ is extracted from the donor. Every organ has a shelf life. Just like in kidneys, it could be up to 48 hours. In hearts, it could be 4 to 6 hours. And then the last one is making sure that they have information before they start the surgery. And that's the last checkpoint before the actual operation occurs. UNO's mission is really to be the facilitator during that clock for more information becoming available to transplant professionals to make more informed decision.
Organs are a very limited resource. We have so many people waiting for organs, and the transplant hospitals and the OPOs want to make as efficient use of that limited resource as possible. So a center would ask us, hey, can you give us a report of all the organs that were offered to our hospital over the last 30 days? Now, by shifting to the data clusters and putting things in a big data lake, we're able to provide that data in a self-service. That way, they don't have to come to us with every little question. The data's there, we refresh it weekly, whereas before it would take several weeks before we get the data.
We've built capability leveraging Talend that allows them to do this through a self-service model, and so they can come and get their data themselves much faster, much easier, and much more timely. It's really critical for them to look back and see if the decisions they've made about accepting or rejecting an organ was the right one.
So I'm a surgeon. I could look at this data and understand, well, this was a particular organ, say a heart that was offered to my patient, and I didn't take it because certain things just didn't seem right to me, but the next person down the list took it, transplanted it, was successful, everything worked out. Maybe I should adjust my selection criteria. I might be being too restrictive. There may be options available to my patient that I wasn't considering before. Data helps us make better decisions, and better decisions mean we can save more lives.
The story of hope here has to do with the fact that the hope is much brighter now. More transplants are done every single day. More organs are become available. Our hope is to drive more organs to be used in humans who need them.
Building out this data lake has really opened our eyes to the possibilities of other things we can do.
Talend has so many connectors that it's like a Christmas time where you can start to think and dream of different applications that you can build. And this has had a large effect on the enterprise.
We can look at how we're running our organization in terms of our finances and our activities, what's going on with case management, things like that. But the big benefit for us is going to be able to pull in third-party data from electronic medical records, data from insurance companies, data from U.S. Census to provide a much richer research environment for the community. It's going to be huge for us. We're very excited about it.